Maybe what we see in the sky with the naked eye isn't even a star at all. Let me tell you something that'll blow your mind. The star you stare at in Orion's belt, also known as the Hunter's Belt or Jabbar, is actually not just a simple star. That bright spot in the sky, which looks like a steady flashlight from Earth, is actually a space monster. Or to put it better, three monsters. One of the stars in Orion's belt. It's a triple system made up of giant, blue stars that are hotter than anything you could even imagine. How hot are they? Let me tell you, it's several times hotter than the surface of the sun. And what about their mass? It's estimated that they're between 20 to 40 times the mass of our sun. In this video, we're going to dive into the mystery of the triple star in Orion's belt and uncover how a tiny point of light can hide a whole world of wonders behind it. This is a story that has amazed both science and countless nights of stargazers, full of questions. All right, let's get to the clip. Imagine a clear, starry night in a quiet, peaceful desert, far away from all light pollution. We're standing there, staring up at the sky, and we're doing it with the naked eye. No need for binoculars or a telescope. Suddenly, three stars lined up in a straight row, shining in the darkness, catch your attention, right? You're looking at the three bright stars of Orion's belt, also known as the Hunter's Belt. But let me tell you a secret. That star at the westernmost point of this belt is called Alnitak. In fact, it's actually made up of three stars orbiting each other. Just imagine three blue giants that, if they were close to us, their light could make the Earth as bright as day. Now let's dive a bit deeper into the details. The Alnitak star system is about 1,260 light-years away from us. What does that mean? It means the light we're seeing right now left there 1,260 years ago. So, the image we see of these stars now is actually a snapshot of their past. An image from around the year 765 AD, which was the peak of the Abbasid Caliphate in the Middle East and the era when classical civilizations like the Maya were forming in Central Asia, such as in the Yucatan region. So, in a way, we're looking into the past, and the telescope acts like a kind of time machine. Of course, when we look at Alnitak from Earth, we have no idea that it's actually a triple star system. We just see a single bright blue light. But the truth is, there are three giant suns orbiting each other out there. So, what's the story behind these triplets? Alnitak AA is a massive blue supergiant with a surface temperature reaching 30,000 Kelvin. To give you an idea of just how hot that is, you should know that our sun's temperature is only 5,778 Kelvin. Its mass and radius are also more than 20 times that of the sun. But what's even more fascinating is that Alnitak AA's luminosity is about 250,000 times that of the sun. Yes, you heard that right. But Alnitak AB, the next giant in this blue trio, is a blue subgiant. In astronomy, a subgiant refers to a star whose hydrogen fuel in the core has been depleted and is in the process of becoming a giant. This star is slightly smaller in size and mass than Alnitak AA, but its mass is 14 times that of the Sun. It's interesting to know that Alnitak AB is only 0.03 astronomical units, or about 4.5 million kilometers, away from Alnitak AA, which isn't a large distance on an astronomical scale. The third giant is called Alnitak B. This one is also a blue giant, and it's a bit smaller than the other two giants. Alnitak B is about 400 astronomical units, or nearly 60 billion kilometers, away from the AA and a pair, and it orbits at a much greater distance. Now, a few important points about the three Alnitak giants. These stars orbit each other at an insane speed. The AA and a pair, which are close to each other, complete a full orbit around one another every 2.5 days. This high speed shows just how intense the gravity is between them, and it also causes their stellar winds to collide, creating a strange environment full of radiation and plasma. On the other hand, Alnitak is located right next to one of the most famous nebulae in the sky, the Horsehead Nebula, also known as the Horsehead Nebula. In fact, it's the intense light from these stars that illuminates the nebula's gases in that region. Now, it's quite interesting to know that some astronomers say there might even be a fourth star in that particular area, but because it's much dimmer or its angle isn't quite right, we haven't been able to clearly see it yet. Some people genuinely believe that the light we perceive from Alnitak is actually a complex combination of the light from these 3 distinct stars, and perhaps that is precisely why sometimes its brightness and color subtly change a little. Now imagine, one night, perhaps thousands or even millions of years from now, one of these distant stars explodes and shines so incredibly brightly that it illuminates Earth's night sky like it's broad daylight. Yeah, Orion's belt is full of cosmic time bombs. But leaving the Alnitak triplets aside, Orion's belt still has 2 other bright stars. As we move from east to west, the middle star, which is considered the king of the belt, is called Alnilam. Alnilam is situated in the middle of a vast reflection nebula, which scatters its blue and white light through the gas and dust, giving it a magical appearance. This star is the largest and brightest, shining like a powerful spotlight. In fact, you could say Alnilam's luminosity is an astonishing number, about 800,000 times that of the Sun. Still, it's all on its own, meaning it doesn't have any companions. In fact, although Alnilam is a solitary star, it's a blue supergiant with a mass about 40 to 44 times that of the Sun, and it's located roughly 2,000 light-years away. Interestingly, this blue giant is losing its mass at a rate about 20 million times faster than our own Sun. What does that mean? It means it's ejecting its material into space at high speeds. Why? Because these giants burn through their fuel very quickly and are getting ready for a massive explosion called a supernova. The strange thing is, in a few million years, this star might become so bright that it could even be visible during the day. Now let's move to Orion's belt's easternmost star, Mintaka. It is about 1,200 light-years away from us. Even though Mintaka is smaller than the other 2 stars in the belt, it's still pretty huge. You could say Mintaka is the strangest star in the belt, and like Alnilam, it's part of a multiple star system, but it's even more complex. In fact, Mintaka's multiple star system has 5 members. Its 2 main stars are called Mintaka AA1 and Mintaka AA2. Mintaka AA1 is a blue giant with a mass about 25 times that of the Sun, and its temperature reaches up to 30,000 Kelvin. Mintaka AA2 is also a smaller companion that orbits AA1 once every 5.73 days. It's interesting to know that these 2 stars sometimes pass in front of each other and cause each other's light to dim. So, in a way, a little eclipse happens. Besides, these 2 stars B, C, and D are also around there, and in a way, they're all connected to the system. But maybe the most interesting thing about Mintaka is that it rises earlier than the other stars in Orion's belt. That's why, in legends, it's always been called the Hunter's Gate. When I look at these stars in the sky and think about them, I feel just how small and insignificant we are in this universe. 3 stars that, from Earth, look like tiny dots, but they're actually a complete and complex system on their own. The universe really is full of mysteries. I'd love to know what you think. What do you think? How would you feel if one night these stars exploded? Be sure to write your thoughts in the comments. But the stars of Orion's belt have different names and lots of legends in various languages and cultures. For example, in Arabic they're known as Al-Nitak, Al-Nizam, and Al-Mintaka, or even have nicknames like three Marys or three kings. But aside from their names and reputations, the story of the stars in Orion's belt reminds us that everything we see in the night sky has a hidden secret behind it. The stars we think are just tiny points of light are actually entire worlds of their own. So, you could say the most important thing we learned from this story is that the truth is always more than what it seems. That's why we need to look deeper.